This is Showtime Sean Porter.
This is Aerosmith Jr.
Hey everyone, this is Jesse Vargas.
And you're watching True School Sports.
You're watching True School Sports.
And you're watching True School Sports.
Stay tuned.
The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game has been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, let's talk about Jermall Charlo, Big Charlo. He had a fight with Sergey Derevyanchenko, and I gotta say, man, I've had time to reflect on it, I've had time to think about it, and he passed it with flying colors. We saw, this whole pay-per-view from the Charlos, right? They pit both Charlos. They put both Charlos in some serious and stern tests against Sergey Derevyanchenko and Jason Rosado, respectively. And the common theme of this pay-per-view was maturation. If there was one word you could use to describe the performance of both Charlos, it's maturation. They have both matured. And 2 fights ago for both of them, when Jermall fought Tony Harrison the first time and he lost, and when Jermall fought Matthew Korov, I think the consensus was in the boxing world that they had plateaued. They become champions, but they hadn't really. I didn't think. I know a lot of people out there didn't think that they were going to improve like they have been improving. And in this fight with Derevyanchenko, Jermall Charlo fought a guy in Sergey Derevyanchenko, who, make no mistakes about it, he's one of the best middleweights out there in the world. Has he lost some fights to Golovkin and Daniel Jacobs? Yes, but he's tough. He's a tough out for anybody in the division, and to beat him, you're gonna have to be an elite fighter, and to look better against him, you're gonna have to be even more of an elite fighter. You're gonna have to show that extra bit of quality, and in this particular fight with Jermall Charlo, he showed the extra bit of quality. I remember very clearly when he fought Brendan Adams, when he fought Matthew Korov, a lot of people were saying Jermall Charlo's trash. They were saying Jermall Charlo's overrated. Jermall Charlo's no good. Jermall Charlo will not be able to compete with some of the elite middleweights in the world. And this fight was a big test for him, his biggest test at 160 to date. And he passed it with flying colors. He did better against Sergey Derevyanchenko than both Triple G did and both Daniel Jacobs. And make no mistakes about it, Derevyanchenko in this fight, there were a couple of points in this fight where Derevyanchenko was taking Jermall Charlo into some deep, dark, and uncomfortable places. He didn't bring him all the way there, but he got him. He got him on the doorstep to some of those deep, dark, and uncomfortable places. He was cutting the distance. He was using the right hand. He was just handing out rib dinners, just going to the body. He looked sensational in pockets in this fight towards the back half. But credit to Jermall Charlo, and this goes back to the maturation that we're talking about. Jermall Charlo, his jab. The jab was everything. The way he was working behind the jab, the way he was just like doubling up off of it. Sometimes he would double up, throw the right hand off of it. Sometimes he would double up, throw the right hand, and finish with a hook. He was throwing all kinds of combinations. Jermall Charlo looked tonight like he could be not just one of the best middleweights in the world, but that he's got a chance to go all the way and become the best middleweight in the world. So it was a very great performance from Charlo. I was really just excited to see how he worked behind his jab. And I thought, much like his brother, in his own right, he fought a guy in Derevyanchenko who's been there and done it, even more than a guy like Rosario. He's been there. He's fought the best in the world. He's given great accounts of himself in all his fights against the best in the world. And Jermall Charlo just neutralized him. And that's to me, that's actually more impressive than if he would have got a knockout. A knockout would have been a statement. Don't get me wrong. I would have loved a knockout. For him to show that mental discipline, the mental fortitude to work behind the jab, and keep a guy like Sergey Derevyanchenko neutralized and at bay for 12 rounds. That's something that Golovkin didn't do. That's something that Daniel Jacobs did not do. So now we have to look. I have to look at. I've always thought that Jermall Charlo had it in him to be this good. I thought he was as good. In fact, I'm pretty sure that back when he fought Korobov and Brendan Adams, I remember when I was watching other videos, when I was seeing what the pulse was in the boxing community of what people were saying about Jermall Charlo after 2 underwhelming performances. I said, and go back and watch my videos, I said it in my post-fight videos, this will be the best thing that ever happens to Jermall Charlo. And these rounds and these fights against Adams and Korobov, respectively, are going to help him in the future, and they did. Because I think the Jermall Charlo that fought Brendan Adams and the Jermall Charlo that fought Korobov, if that guy would have showed up in the ring against this Derevyanchenko, I think we're talking about a different fight. But because he had those rounds, because he got that quality in-ring experience, it helps him and it serves him well. And these are the things I talk about. Like when I talk about Deontay Wilder or certain fighters who I don't believe got quality ring experience to prepare for the big fights, it's those fights where a fighter doesn't look so spectacular, but he wins and he finds ways to win, and he's in there with an opponent that doesn't make life easy for him, an opponent that doesn't give him a lot to work with. It's those kind of fights that are the best fights for a fighter at times, and for Jermall Charlo it was. So he's beating Derevyanchenko. He's still WBC middleweight champion. People are calling for Canelo. Canelo's trying to fight a sparring partner. But I'm gonna do this. I was watching my man. Shout out to Punch Drunk Boxing. Everybody go subscribe to Punch Drunk Boxing, aka Mr. Moonshine, one of the better channels out there. Great channel. I was listening to his video for a little bit, and he was talking about how his boxing fan, as a boxing fan on his channel, on his platform, he's not gonna be pushing for Jermall Charlo fight Canelo, because the only fight that Jermall Charlo needs to be looking at is a unification fight with Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. And you know what? I'm gonna second that notion. I'm gonna follow Punch Drunk Boxing's lead, and I'm gonna pair what he's saying as well. Jermall Charlo needs to be looking at a unification fight with Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. He did an exceptional job against Derevyanchenko. He boxed very well against Derevyanchenko. He has every right to get credit, and his stock should have went up in the eyes of most boxing fans. And if it isn't, and if you're still hating on Jermall Charlo after that fight, then you have horrible anger and hatred inside of your heart, and you need to go and forgive your mother. And you need to become a more happy and joyful person, because that was a great performance by Jermall Charlo. Now, it's one thing to box a guy like Derevyanchenko, who is a respectable fighter, one of the baddest motherfuckers in the division. All respect to Derevyanchenko. When we talk about Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, we're talking about a guy who's been 2 division champion. You can say he hasn't fought the creme de la creme of opposition, the best fighters out there, but guess what? Everybody they put in front of him, with the exception of Vanes Martirosyan and Jack Colque, the 20-plus opponents they put in front of him, with the exception of those 2 fighters that I just named you, he's not just beaten them, but he's dominated them, and in many cases whitewashed them. He is the most technically sound and skilled boxer in this division. And if Jermall Charlo wants to fully test that maturation, if he wants to fully test how good that jab truly is, fight Demetrius Andrade, a guy that is tall for the weight class. He's pushing 6'1". He's long. He's rangy. He's got great amateur pedigree. They say he's boring, but what they fail to realize is most of the time Demetrius Andrade hits these guys with a straight left or overhand left in the first round, and the opponents are the ones usually running from him. If you go back and you watch his fights against Artur Akavov, Brian Rose, Suleski, these guys, Demetrius Andrade gets his respect off rip, and they run away from him. But then boxing fans don't see that. They can say he's boring. But go back and watch the fights. Really watch these fights and listen to what I'm talking about. I want to see Demetrius Andrade get his shot. I think this is a fight, like Punch Drunk said, this is a fight that was talked about years ago. And when I say years ago, I mean like 4 or 5 years ago. This is a fight where it's been marinated for so long. It's been marinated for half a decade plus. Charlo is 31 years old. I believe Boo Boo is 32 years old. They're both in the back half of their prime. They're in the twilight of their prime. So make the fight happen. Make the fight happen. There's no sense in you calling out Canelo, because we know Canelo is trying to fight a sparring partner in Avni Yildirim. Okay? This is the best fight out there for Jermall Charlo. This is the best fight out there for Jermall Charlo and fighting Demetrius Andrade. It's a unification fight, fellow American undefeated champion. This has been building up for years. If Jermall Charlo, I'll put it like this, guys. If Jermall Charlo takes this fight next and he beats Demetrius Andrade, I'm calling him the #1 middleweight in the world. Because first of all, I don't think he could beat Demetrius Andrade. I think he's getting better. I think he's a very improved fighter, but I don't think he could beat Demetrius Andrade. But if he can go on there and use that jab to set up a big right hand or a hook to knock him out, or even crazier, if he outboxes him, I'm going to have no choice but to really look at the way this guy's improving, and it's going to be really interesting to see where he would fit in the middleweight picture if he was to get that win. So I just think right now this is the perfect time for him to make that fight. It's the perfect time for Boo Boo to finally get his shot at glory and getting a big name, because that's been the one knock on him in his career. He's like the Terrence Crawford of that weight class. The one knock on his career has been, hey, he's great. You know, he's beating these guys and beating them in impressive fashion. But who has he fought? You know, that's been a knock on him. So much respect to Jermall Charlo for the performance against Derevyanchenko. It's a step in the right direction. I think he has, in this fight, formally announced himself as a prime-time player at 160 because, you know, he beat Hugo Centeno and Jorge Sebastian Highland. Then he brought Dennis Hogan up 154. Them wins were whatever, but this one right here was the first, in my opinion, top quality one he's gotten at 160. So he's here at 160. Demetrius Andrade, Jermall Charlo, that's the only fight we need to be talking about right now. And on True School Sports, we're going to be actively pushing for it. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you made of Big Charles' performance against Sergey Derevyanchenko. And who do you want to see him fight next? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with your boy BT? Should it be Demetrius Andrade in a WBC unification fight? Or would you want to see him go another route? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just giving being. So until next time, take care, guys.
My name is Rachel McDonough, and this is my friend. Hi, I'm Savannah. And we're here at the beautiful Madison Square Garden for the big fight. And you are watching True School Sports.